you are now on the old one, right? Sorry, guys. This is every time we record an interview, something happens. Okay, now you are here. Okay, we screw up the one from Facebook, but it's fine. We will send the replay to everyone. So finally we are here. Just okay. So can you hear me properly?
Yes, I can.
Thank God. Okay. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. So sorry for this 5 minutes delay. It's been a little bit challenging for us to connect. We don't really know what happened with the schedule interview, but thank you, Moukthika, for being here with us today in another Architect-US interview series.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, just so you know, guys, all these started a little bit crazy because we were not aware about the saving time, daylight saving time difference. So Moukthika was ready like an hour ago because the interview was set up in where we are based now, Madrid, Spain. And she's based in Kansas, in the US. So basically, yeah. Anyway, but this was meant to happen. We are now finally connected. I'm so happy to have you here. Well, welcome on board. I am going to briefly just introduce you so everyone knows who you are and basically what you have gone through. I'm trying to get, oh my gosh. Okay, never mind. Now I lost the other window where okay, here it is. Where I have all your all your answers. But I wanted just to briefly introduce you here because I think that it's going to be a very inspiring interview, mainly for those who follow us that are still in school, because Moukthika is a final year undergraduate architecture student from the Nirmat University, the Institute of Architecture and Planning from India. And help me to pronounce your city of origin, please. I want to say it properly.
Chennai.
Oh my God.
You're talking college? Ahmedabad.
No, yeah, I'm talking
college.
And it's located in Gujarat.
Gujarat. No, you said J, Gujarat, yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, I don't know how many people from India are here because it was such a revolution when we posted your interview. Many people from India say hello. So please, if you can just type, where are you from, guys? Regardless you're from India, from other part of the world, it will be lovely to know you. I want this to be very interactive. So, Gujarat too. Yeah, there's people having a laugh at me. Yeah, so tell me, the first thing I think it will be good if you just tell us a little bit about your background, how you ended up being an architect, what was your main inspiration to choose your career, because I know that at some point you had some other plans in your mind. So tell us, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, so initially, I come from a family of architects. Like my father's an architect, my mom's an interior designer. So it was a natural choice for me to incline towards architecture. Although as a kid, I always wanted to be a doctor. But eventually,
really?
Yeah, I did. And I really wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be anything but what my parents were doing. And as I grew up, I started understanding there was a lot more to what I was seeing. It was just not them being busy all the time. There was a lot of work and love that goes into what they were doing. And when I grew up, I started realizing that there is architecture as a field is really diverse. There's so much you can do with it. And eventually I realized I would find something that I'm really passionate about, even within architecture. So that's how it started. And then I started looking at my options, and I started working with my parents a little bit, getting involved in their discussions. So then I realized I do have a sense, I have an idea of what this profession might entitle in the future.
Got it.
Kind of slowly led me to take up architecture for my undergraduate school.
Okay, but the inspiration came from your own experience in terms of how to approach to architecture, more than having the effect of your parents' daily basis, right? Because at the beginning you said that you have kind of opposition to, you know, their work daily routines. I guess that it was long hours and you wanted to spend more time with them. But how did they actually introduce you to the architecture field? Or it was completely separate from
No, they actually used to bring work home quite a lot. They used to have their plans that they used to discuss over dinners.
Of course.
Discussions over the weekends. So
that's why you have to choose a husband if you happen, you know, if you wanted to get married, or a partner that is not from architecture, because you just
I know
ended up talking about architecture and design.
Right? Otherwise, it's always work. So that's what happened with my parents. Even over weekends and vacations, they were all, if they had a discussion, it was about work because they worked together in the same company. So that I was always looking at those plans and their discussions without realizing that it was getting registered in my brain. You know, I would just listen to them and be like, yeah, okay, they're just talking work. But eventually I started understanding what they were saying. So someone asked me, I could actually relate to what the discussion that my parents had a few days ago. And, you know, that's
so cool. I mean, even though there was some sort of delay in that understanding process, I guess that all the pieces in your mind are starting to become more clear to you. And at the same time, you were developing your passion for architecture without noticing it, or you had already, I'm just curious if you had enrolled some courses just to take a sense of how drawing, sketching, you know, building things together.
I did. As a kid, I was always into drawing and sketching. I used to do that in my free time quite often. And even my mom always made sure that we would explore all these tiny habits or like things you do in your free time. So we are exposed to a lot of things. And so I was always into art and sketching. And that's how I got into, even for our, we have an exam before we can join undergrad school. An entrance exam, and that has a lot of sketching and drawing too. I mean, it doesn't really tell us what it's going to be like in the field, but it at least checks if we are able to contemplate and understand a few things about the field, like a little bit of calculations, a little bit of drawing and sketching. If we can just like perceive what we have in our heads and actually bring it on paper. So I think that's what that exam does. And
that was right before getting to college? So you were still at high school level?
This was in high school. I gave it in my 11th grade, that the exam, because the scores are valid for 2 years. I'm not sure how it is right now, but I gave it in my 11th grade just because I wanted to see if I could do it. And I did pretty well at that. So I think I got my answer that I might be able to do well in this field.
That's interesting. And one thing that actually I got more, I guess, intrigued by your answers before, just so you know, guys, before we organize interviews, we try to start the conversation through kind of general questions and topics. And I really like when we ask you if you have ever considered other professions. When you mentioned that at your early age, you thought of becoming a doctor, perhaps, is that you kind of fall in love with the idea that architects have the opportunity or the ability to change the world we live in. And and despite it can be quite overwhelming at the beginning of the career, right? Because everything is so abstract. And, you know, it's very artistic, right? At least at the very beginning. Then you go into all the technical aspects of the architecture as well. But at the very beginning, everything can be very overwhelming. But I think that is part of the beauty or the fascinating aspects of our profession, that is so versatile. I mean, that also, you mentioned that somewhere in your answers, like that for you was actually a challenge to kind of decide. It was a daunting task, that's what you said, to decide what route you wanted to follow when becoming an architect, because it's true, you can be an urban planner, you can be an interior designer, you can just focus on structures, or, you know, even critiques, you know, you can become a magazine journalist specialized in architecture. So at what point you kind of started to decide the route that you wanted to follow, the path that you wanted to follow in architecture?
So I think my college did a very good job of introducing us to a lot of a variety of projects. So just one semester when we started working on an urban scale project, because they wanted to introduce us to all the scales that exist. And that's when I slowly started understanding that when we're designing a building, we're only looking at it from a small perspective, but then when you look at a city or a community or a society in general, you have a lot more things have an act to play. And there's a lot of policy making, there's so much of financial planning that goes into it. There's a lot of planning basically. And I realized that might be something I'm good at. And, you know, and that is something I'm passionate about, because you can, like I said, you know, the change is now not just for a family or like a bunch of families, but now it is for an entire society, and how this society or city functions as a whole. So that's when I started realizing I'm really intrigued by how urban planning and how urban analytics work. And slowly I started exploring what else this field has to offer. And eventually I decided I wanted to do masters in city planning or regional planning.
Yeah, I saw that. That's how you envisioned yourself in 5 years' time. That's actually really, really interesting, like how impactful we can be, you know? It's not like, I mean, not saying that all the professions are less, you know, relevant, but it's true that, you know, society couldn't live without, you know, architecture. I mean, it's not only where we live or the space that we kind of experience, is also about, you know, how we envision the world. Architecture should, I mean, there's always some sort of delay because technology is going faster than us in terms of construction, but there's always a relationship, right? And it's super, I remember years ago when I was living in New York, that I attended this exhibition at the MOMA museum, that I don't recall the title, but basically they were showcasing how a specific movement had an impact at, oh my God, I don't know why I'm getting goosebumps, I'm thinking about this. An impact at all levels of the artistic kind of, it's not initiatives, but I mean, yeah, music, dance, obviously painting, sculpture, architecture, everything is so interconnected, because arts, I mean, artists as we are, you know, we kind of express how we see the world through our, you know, through our work and through our masterpieces and so on. So I've been always super fascinated about this. And let me just ask the people that are here with us, why don't you guys just type, following the lines that Moukthika was saying, what aspect of our broad and wide profession interests you the most? Are you more interested in design, in urban planning, landscaping? Well, anything that you fall in love with, even scripting today, or, you know, 3D visualization. There's always some sort of delay, but if you can just type it, it will be great, because we can also incorporate your comments. And
it might actually help to a lot of people who are just joining the field to know what the field has to offer maybe 5 years from now.
Exactly. I was gonna just ask you, as urban design, there's another person, Raja, I don't know if I pronounced it correctly, yes. But she seems to be interested in the same that you are, many urban designers here. And so that's actually, I mean, the topic comes perfectly well with the moment we're living in, right? So as a future urban planner, how do you envision, you know, cities? Do you think that we will incorporate some sort of, what's the word? Some sort of new strategies?
I do think there will be a change in policies, just in general.
I'm talking about because of the impact of COVID,
Yes.
of course.
Yeah, we have a lot. We have global warming. We have an inflated population that's really affecting. We have to be prepared for the disasters that are yet to come.
Sustainability architecture, they're saying, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, when we talk about sustainable architecture, we're talking about sustainability as slightly different from cities that can be more flexible to adapt to the change that might come our way in the future, because we don't know what kind of change is yet to come.
That's totally true.
It's really crucial and very, very challenging to design for something you don't know, because it's unknown, right? And you have to just be prepared for anything that's going to come your way. And I think that's where these planners and will come into. We start analyzing how future would be. You start analyzing at what rate these changes are happening. So should you be prepared for such a change in 5 years or 10 years? So I think these kind of things become more important in the future, because the world as we know it is changing at a very rapid pace. And
yes.
Your policies, your designs have to adapt to that, because you cannot do things the same way you're doing right now. You have to be more conscious about it. But I definitely think there'll be a change in planning policies. So
I think that that's actually a good point, because as you say, obviously we can try to predict the future, but who could expect that global pandemic, right, at the beginning of 2020?
Exactly.
So that reminds me the scheme from BEC, from BEC Angels for the city of New York, Manhattan.
New York.
I was living at the city when we were hit by Sandy, and half of the island was flooded, or
yes.
Suffered from the impacts of the storm and it was not hurricane, it was a storm. And so all these new schemes and urban planning proposals just starting to arise, and it was super interesting, like all the new kind of paths of thinking, how to envision the future of the cities. And it's not even that. I mean, we don't really need like a disaster. Only like population growth is already quite challenging, right?
Even things like water scarcity, people are not getting enough water, or potable water for that matter. Water scarcity, there's just so many issues at hand. And I think intelligent planning, we could achieve a few things simultaneously. But anyway, like you were saying.
No. I mean, I really like the conversation. It was just a matter of understanding, how you envision. And in terms of COVID, do you think that there'll be some drastic measures put in place, or it should be at least considered, in the forthcoming plans for housing?
I do think so. I think it makes a drastic change, because or at least, like you said, it should be in place, because this is not going to leave us soon. It's going to take some time, and then if the vaccine works, even then it's going to take some time for things to get back to normal. And even if they do get back to normal, there is no guarantee that something like this might not happen again. And this time we're hit by something we don't know.
It's so scary.
The future is a constant state of unknown, and you really have to be prepared for anything. So now that we know how global pandemic works, why not incorporate the learnings from this into all the policies in the future? Because what happens with policy making and urban design, like specifically, they do it every few years. Or if there was like an adverse disaster that happened. But I think instead of waiting for it to come to you, suffer, and then make a change, we should start preparing for it ahead of time, because we know it's happening anyway.
Yes.
So to be more proactive, and I think it would make a lot of sense if they do incorporate all the learnings from this COVID, probably make social distancing a normal thing.
Gosh, really? That's horrible. Well, I know that everyone is suffering from the same, but I'm from Spain, Mediterranean country. Our culture is all about socializing. We are very touchy, you know, we are hanging and kissing each other all the time. I mean, the same with Italy, Greece, or even in other, obviously. Yeah, and so I'm actually very interested. I mean, this is off topic, but I'm very interested
for challenge rise, right? Where we want to maintain the distance and yet create spaces that would bring about this socialization that you're talking about.
Yes, like zero bubbles, right? Like bubbles where we can somehow be COVID free and we can all be naked and, and hang each other without thinking that we're gonna get infected. By the way, I passed COVID back in March, and yeah, for me it was not that traumatic. I mean, I was pretty sick. I guess I would say that the worst time. But I mean, thank God, you know, it was not that dramatic. It's such a disaster. But speaking about COVID, you know, we were titling, I don't know if I can use that word, basically announcing your interview to discuss how you travel the world. So I want you to cover a little bit about, even though you are still an undergrad student, you did some internships, and well, you have like a lot of experience probably just because of your parents' influence. And yes. So how do you see the difference between experiencing architecture in the US, in India, as opposed to the US? Because first of all, B+A Architecture, the company that you're working with, that we happily help you to land, the principal is from India too, right?
No, he visited India quite often, but he's not.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
For the most part of his life, but he really liked the way Indians think and work, and he visited India, got impacted by it so much that he was willing to take some of that back home.
Just so you know, you are like the fourth participant at Architect-US coming from India to B+A. That's B+A. Sorry. So that's why, I don't know, I felt that he might have some sort of connection, you know, beyond work. So, but going back to the main question, what would you? Because we had a few people from India, and just for everyone is an interesting topic. How would you describe the main differences between the two countries? When it comes to
I think the major difference is how they view interns. Here at B+A, although I was an intern, I was treated more like a full-time employee just out of undergrad school, because they expect you to know as much as you already do by the end of your 4 years, because that's what you're doing. You've already learned what you had to learn. Now you want to apply that learning into the field and see where you stand. So
that's fantastic.
So they really let us, you know, they involve us with every product, with every stage of the process. Where I was speaking to the clients directly, I was interacting with them via email, even in person. We would make presentations to the clients directly. So we were treated as a full-time employee. So I was exposed to everything, whether it was going to the planning department for getting approvals, whether it was just sitting with the clients for like the financial planning meetings and how we're going to take that forward, whether it was just discussions, structural planning. So basically we were involved at every stage with everyone, with the clients, with the planning departments, with approval departments within the office. So that is something that's really nice, because you get that kind of exposure to all the aspects of what goes into making a building and how you get approvals. So it's from the first starting stage, from when we get a project till we complete it and hand it over to the client. We're involved in every stage and fully. So we don't just watch and observe, we take part in it. So we know how
take action.
Yeah. So we know how to, now we know how to handle some situations that probably we wouldn't have learned back in, because you learn these out of experience and not just by studying in school. Whereas in India, they limit this interaction a little bit, at least from the few internships I've done back at home.
Well, Raja was just, sorry to interrupt you. Raja was saying that that's very, you know, lucky for an intern, and yes. She's absolutely right. We had already two or three of the previous interviewees or guests before that also practice in the US, they all said the same. I mean, people tend to think when they approach to us, to the Architect-US program, that the title that you get because of the visa, that it can be an intern or trainee, that directly links to what you're going to be doing at the company and how you're going to be treated. And that has nothing to do with that. I mean, I always try to explain that the intern term, in terms of immigration terminology, that can be someone who has just finished their master's, and maybe they had between a bachelor's and master's 5 years of experience. So, and they just get the title of being an intern just because they just finished studies. And you know, and that's how the category works for the visa. But even if you are a real intern, like you are an entry level, you're just starting your career, that doesn't mean that they're gonna put you in a plan desk, I don't know, scanning plans, or just doing, I don't know, some secondary type of work. I mean, I guess it's always a matter of luck as well, and how committed, how mentor, I would say, how mentor is the person that gives you the offer at the company. And I know that Dennis, your boss, you know, he has such a strong mentorship skills.
Yes,
and yeah, and so, you know, I had similar experience when I started in HOK years ago in New York, that I also thought, oh my God, you know, I'm coming from another country, they don't really know my background, they're gonna treat me from the very, and you know, I was just running a project by myself with just 2 other people in a company of almost 200 people. I mean, the office in New York. It was such a fantastic experience. So you guys have to kind of put aside all these preconceptions and just grab the opportunity as it comes.
Yes, absolutely. I think that was the biggest, you know, it's the biggest plunge I've taken, because I knew I was going to enter into a world that I did not know how it existed, because architecture in India is a little different from architecture.
Yeah, and I cut you off, so you continue when you want.
So whether it is, you know, the materials, the entire process of getting approvals, our joineries. So I learned something that was completely different from what actually happens in the real world in America, which is probably something normal for someone who studied in America. But if you come from another country, your the basics that you've learned is fundamentally different from what happens in the US. But then, you know, with a great mentor like Dennis, with the kind of help you have, it's not hard at all to, like, they embrace you.
The transition is smooth.
It's very smooth, and you start understanding. They take the time to explain things to you. And if you're really willing to learn, you would pick it up in no time. And I was able to do things by myself with, you know, with like minor clarifications from my mentor. I could make the plans myself. I could make models myself, because it's smooth. The transition is so smooth. And I did not think I could do this. That was my biggest doubt, if I would ever be able to, like, understand how things are done in the US. It's not hard at all. For people who are worried about that, let me tell you, with experience, it's not hard at all.
No, it has nothing to do.
Pick it up in no time.
And also one important thing that you mentioned is that it really all really depends on your attitude as well. I mean, if you're determined to, you know, eager to learn, to work hard, and you prove yourself even at an early, you know, entry level, that's totally fine. Because one of the things that I kind of like the most when I was working in the US as an architect is that I think is the society is not really related to architecture, is that they're very I'm going to try to say this word, meritocratic, mainly. Yes. That, you know, if you really want to go up the ladder and you work hard for it, and as I said, you're vocal and you prove yourself, the opportunities will come your way. I mean, the difficult thing is to get to the US with a job, but you tell us now how you did it. But once you're there, if they feel like you're good and that you have things to propose and that you are very proactive, they will want you there forever.
Exactly, taking off from you. I think being proactive is what gets you lands you those opportunities in the first place. Because if you see that there's a new client that came in and they are asking for something that you could really work well on, you can always go up to your mentor or supervisor and be like, you know what, I think I can do this. Why don't you give me a chance? I'll come to you with a proposition, and if you like it, or if you have suggestions, we could work around it. But let me give it a shot. Or you don't even have to ask them. If you see something happening, you could take this opportunity to figure out a solution, give them a design solution, and take it up to them. Because when they see that you're doing this out of your own interest, then they will start understanding that you're really passionate about it.
Exactly.
They will start involving you in more processes. And that's how I could, I started involving with one of the clients, speaking to them closely, trying to understand what they wanted. And then I tried to deliver that to my supervisor, and then asked him for his suggestion. So when he saw that I was so into the process, he started involving me with every stage of that process, because he wanted to understand more about it.
Of course.
So I think being proactive and really taking charge is what lands you those opportunities.
Oh, definitely. You shouldn't be waiting always at a training position. I really get nervous about that type of profile. It's like, no, I'm just learning. I'm just new. I'm training. No, I mean, that can be the case, but there's always something that you can do on your own, and, to push your limits, to get better, to prove or to show your supervisor that you really care, that you are committed, that that you're passionate about what you're doing, and that will obviously will have an impact on responsibilities and how you grow up faster, I guess. And so I was going to say, because you obviously got hit by the pandemic. I mean, you were in the US only for a couple of months or something like that, or
Yes.
maybe 4 months when all this happened. So how have you experienced this? I mean, how was working from home? And
yeah, so it was a very peculiar experience, because Kansas City, like is pretty cold.
yes,
With the fact that I reached Kansas City when it was like mid-winters, it was 6 inches of snow. And by the time I had just come into the city, and we were trying to get a hang of, how the office works, introducing ourselves. This happened for a month, and the winter had just left, maybe mid-February or like to the end of Feb.
yeah.
And then by March, we were hit by the pandemic and we were asked to stay at home. I hardly got 2 months of time with snow, which is probably Kansas City shuts down when there is so much of snow, and which is quite kind of obvious for obvious reasons. So I think I got 1 month to explore Kansas City.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then we were hit by the pandemic.
We will have to bring you over once you finish school, right?
Yes, please, I would love that.
To even travel around the US, I mean, because you haven't been able to, right? You haven't been able to do all the fun stuff. That's really
sadly. And then for two and a half months, I think all the way till the end of May, we were stuck at home, trying to figure out how to work from home, because it was relatively new, and for an intern, because we're still learning how the office functions, and suddenly you're asked to work from home. And you need the kind of, you need the daily guidance from your mentor or your supervisor to learn and to understand some things that you probably don't by yourself. So that was it was pretty challenging for us. But I think maybe one.
Do you have to do, sorry, it's just to get a better sense of how was your daily routine. Do you have to actually spend more hours just because of that kind of connecting and getting to get things moving?
So yeah, we spent a lot of time trying to like organize our meetings, trying to like, share our work. So ideally, if we were just working 9 to 5, now we were working all the time, because office time, there was no personal time. Like if you're working on it, and if you have a question, you just start a meeting with your supervisor, try to figure those out. So we had no timings at all. We were just working around the clock, because we were trying to get as much done before we can come back to the office. So when we're back, we can do other things, that require, and maybe we need that kind of atmosphere. So yes, we worked a lot more hours. We struggled with connection
Oh,
because
really?
difficult to get everyone on board at the same time. You know,
Well, like today with us, right? Like the
yes,
same thing that
exactly.
happens with us, that everything's in
Right.
schedule and it's gonna work fine, and no.
No, right?
uh,
So even with people who are good with technology, and even then you have a lot of difficulties because sometimes connections, your Wi-Fi is really problematic. Sometimes the timings don't match. There were just so many issues that we had to figure out. But that itself took us 40 days to
oh,
get
wow.
a comfortable momentum to work with. And then we knew, we learned from our mistakes in the first few days, and then we figured things out eventually. And yeah, and I think 2.5 months of work at home, and then we came back. So we did like half the office would come to the office on one day, and then the other half, the rest of them would alternate on the next day. So we were partially open for a while, and if
Uh-huh.
Missouri State let offices come back if we practice social distancing. So then I think for the last month in June, we did come back to the office partially, and then from July onwards we've been back at the office. But if
For the entire team.
yeah, the entire team. And but we did try to try our best to make sure if someone's sick, we ask them to just stay back or get a test done. We take temperatures every
Yeah.
day, so just sure. And
Yeah, taking
very
precautions.
yeah, so we followed all the precautions that were uh, that we were supposed to take care of, so we could function in a better way, because sometimes you need the office atmosphere and space to
Yes. To be honest, from my point of view, I mean, I'm not practicing architecture as of right now, but I did practice it for over 12 years. So I really know how an office works, and the protocols and so on. And I was like, how is going to work? I mean, for architects, because we really, at least that's how I experience it. You're constantly learning from your colleagues,
colleagues, yes.
and the design process normally doesn't happen, just you with your white canvas or with your rhinoceros, by yourself. It's like a collaborative and brainstorming sessions, or you come up with ideas from the client, from other collaborators, and so I'm actually pretty surprised, like how things are. I guess that it's a matter of surviving, right? What else can we do? But do you think that this is going to, sorry, I think that you have to go.
No, it's fine.
It's fine. Okay, I'm just saying this, guys, just so you know, because of the issue that we had with the time difference because of the saving daylight. Moukthika was ready like an hour before. Anyway, so thank you for changing your plans and accommodating. But so I was going to say that, do you think that this is something that, as the actual virus, has come to stay for longer? I mean, even though we can come back to the office, obviously taking precautions, like part of the remote work is going to stay. Some of the new protocols.
So part of the remote work might still exist for a while, because at least in our field, how clients come in and you don't know where they've been, if there are some clients who just fly in from other places. So for your own point, because you also go back to a family back at home, a part of our field will still be remotely functioning. You could probably have client meetings on Zoom, or like you can have those remote meetings to avoid this kind of interaction, because everyone in office, we know, because we're seeing each other every day. And so we are in close contact, but a client is someone you probably see them once in a few weeks, and you don't know what happens in that week. So I think that's the part of this field that you will try and try to keep it remote. And maybe anything that involves public spaces, like when we go to the planning department where there's just so much public interaction, that is another thing. And actually it has been quite helpful to do this remotely. If we could just submit our plans online, and the planning department did not have such a facility unless the pandemic had hit us. Now it's
That's
just,
true. That's true.
and now it's just so much easier to just upload everything because we do have soft copies of everything. And why not just continue that part of this for years to come, because you save on paper. There's just so many benefits to it as well. You save on time.
Yeah. Some procedures have become more streamlined, I guess, and more efficient. And
Yep.
that's always good when it comes to administration and, you know, that kind of bureaucratic steps within the profession. But I was going to say that, you know, besides that you kind of struggle at the beginning to adapt to what the COVID brought to the actual internship, you then had to face another challenge, which was going back home, because your internship was meant to end back in July, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, on the 1st of July.
Yeah. And so I remember you reaching out to us, like almost panicking, like, you know, because you were aware that, you know, you're not supposed to, you cannot stay in the US beyond your, you know, legal status. Yeah. And with the J1 visa is 30 days from your last day at work, specifying your visa, right? And so you had planned in advance to buy your tickets and so on, but you couldn't find any. So tell us a little bit about this story, because it's something that you will tell your grandchild, I'm sure, in the future.
Yeah, it was quite a bit of struggle, because July was when I had to get back. And that was when we had the most strict travel bans, international travel bans, nationwide travel bans everywhere. And India decided to cancel all the flights to India. And that was those were some of the rules that India had more than US. And so India just decided to not let any international flights land, and I was stranded without a flight. I struggled to get there was something called extraction flights, and I tried my best to get a seat on those extraction flights, but I was put way behind in the waiting list. That was not an option. I would not find one in that 30-day grace period. So that's when I approached you guys and asked for an extension. So I have enough time, if that was possible, to get an extension, so I could stay here legally, first thing, and I have enough time to find a way to go back home. And like, you know, I finally found one for the mid of November. But
yeah, like 3 months after when you were supposed to travel.
And those 3 months have been the most challenging, because, like, I don't know if people here know, but I've also been studying, but
That's true. That's true. You had to come back because of your classes.
So I still used to go to the office in the mornings for 7 hours. And then I had classes in the nights every night for about 7 hours. Yes, both parties were very understanding. And if I was, you know, very tired, or if I had other things to do, they would just take my discussions first. Like, I could finish my stuff first, and then I could go back to doing other things. They were very understanding, but still it was work, less study, less assignments, everything.
Wow.
And it has been the toughest time of my life, because I was trying my best to handle both. Because if I was staying back, I needed my job to pay for my rent and food. And also because I need to have my job to have my visa as well. So that was something I had to do. And I, of course, have to clear my college and classes, because I need to pass my course. So it was quite a bit of a struggle to do both simultaneously. I was working almost 16 to 17 hours a day.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, I always say that, I mean, my experience was completely different, but I also struggled with some other stuff when I was living in New York. And for me, it was the most challenging time at the very beginning, especially because even though I had lived in another countries like London, and I also worked in Paris, like I was kind of used to transition to different systems and, you know, life scenarios, I guess. For me, New York or the US, with all the what's the word? Oh my God, I'm losing my vocabulary. Basically, all the obstacles that you find your way with the visas, with Medicare, with, I don't know, very, yeah, very just probably small things back home, because everything is kind of under control, become like a whole world. And I always, and I remember, because I went through the J1 visa, then I got out of the lottery for the H1B, then I had to face the O1 visa. Well, these are different topics, but for me, that was half of my life, trying to make it work, because otherwise I was going to be kicked out of the country, right? So I remember living in a constant kind of a stressful, but at the same time fascinating, position that always took me to say that I became like a superwoman. Seriously, I don't know if it sounds ridiculous, but I felt like, okay, what's next? I'm gonna face it. I'm gonna overcome it. And that's how I kind of see you after all this.
So much. True, because this kind of made me realize how independent I could probably be, and that if I put my heart to things, I could actually do them. I did not know I could work and study simultaneously like this unless I actually had to.
Exactly.
Rent and food became essentials for me. You
didn't have any support from home, or?
I did, but I was what I was doing was enough for me to like.
You also wanted to do it yourself.
Yes, I really liked that sense of independence that I had over here, so I wanted to keep that going. So I know people who think it's hard. Yes, it's hard, but it's doable.
Of course,
it's possible. So if you can figure out a solution if you really want to do something.
No, that's great. I mean, this is such a inspiring testimonial. I'm so happy that somehow we were part of this process and we help you with.
Yes, definitely. You've been such an integral part of my process. And even when I came to you in the last minute with that extension, and you were so willing to help me and you were on board with me to make sure this whole process was comfortable, that is something I appreciate so much, because I knew if there was trouble, I could come to you.
Oh, that's
Sonia, I could come to you and I know that you will respond to me in time and you will figure out a solution, because I was like you mentioned, I was really stuck in a situation where I could not leave and I could not stay back, and I did not know what the future had for me. I did not know how classes were going to be held for me back at home, and fortunately for me, they were remotely conducted, so I could take them even from here, although I was stuck here. But consider the situation, it was not remote and I was still stuck here. I would have actually lost on those classes.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
And yeah, I would have to repeat them next year?
Yes, I would have had to repeat them. So fortunately for me, it was remotely conducted, but and when I came to you with all my problems, you were so accommodative of those, and I really appreciate that.
I'm so happy to hear that. I should have brought Sonia. Sonia is the heart of our team. I mean, there are more program advisors, but she's the senior program advisor, coordinating kind of all our participants. And when you face all these issues, I think that she was starting her vacation, and it was not the best time, yes. But I could totally, I always try to wear your boots when it comes to participants, because, I've been in the same position that you've been years ago, and I know how overwhelming can be, and I'm so happy they have worked for you. I know that we have to start wrapping up, because you might have to gotta go. Guys, if you have any questions for Moukthika, is the time for you to, we run a survey before the interview, and I think that we covered most of the aspects. I forgot about your experience with computer tech, but that was only like an internship, right? Because some people show interest as well. Nothing to do with architecture, or somehow related?
I'm sorry, I didn't get your my experience with?
If it was somehow related to architecture, your experience with computer tech. You cannot hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not. I can
maybe I lost my. I don't know. I'm with the headphones, so I don't know if it's that. Yeah. So I was just okay. So yeah. So I was just saying that we mentioned that you had some sort of experience with computer tech, And
Yes.
I was wondering if he had some connection somehow connected with architecture.
Yes, it did help me quite a bit. Um, we did, even in back in college, we had a lot of, we learned a lot of BIM softwares, and that kind really helps with what's there in the world outside you, because yeah, your office can choose to only take a few softwares, but then being so diverse helps you understand and fit yourself in other situations as well. So yes, it's really helpful. It has been really helpful with my architectural journey. And I think it does really help in the future as well, because like I said, right now we're working remotely. So these kind of really help if you have all of these in your bag, and you can just do it from the comfort of your home as well. It just gives you more opportunities as opposed to someone who's not done something like that. Yeah,
Exactly.
I
It
think
always has.
back.
That's interesting. And just to finish the conversation, we are thinking that to make it more going kind of conversation, we are willing to ask our interviewee to think about a question that you would like to ask the future interviewee, even though we don't know who is going to be. It might be another participant. It can be an architect, a professional architect from overseas, American company. It can be a leader, well, freelancer. So tell me, what would you like to ask our future guest?
Let me think.
Yeah, maybe I should have told you this before. But I want it to be more like fresh and, spontaneous. So
When you asked me about the question, you asked me a question about I think there is how the future of architecture or just the design field is changing or would change in the future. And I think that is very subjective. I have one
that's true.
towards it. And I hope you could ask the same question to someone else, because I would like to know the different approaches people have. Because like I said, it's very subjective. For someone, this might be the best way forward. And for some people, this might actually be quite a hurdle. So I would like to know what they think future of the designing field or architecture would entitle, and how it might affect their lives, or how it might affect lives of people around them in the years to come. So that's
Sure.
I think you should ask them.
That's a great question. I'm always concerned about being boring when asking the same question to all our interviewees, but actually, you're right. Many of our approaches are very subjective, so it's always enrichful to listen to other experiences and stories. So I think that with this, we're going to wrap up. Thank you so much, Moukthika. It's been lovely to meet you in person. We haven't spoken so many times, but I put a face, I guess. I really, really enjoy it. I hope that the people that watch the interview enjoy it too.
I hope so too. Thank you so much for having me, for letting me put my struggles and my experiences out there for people to know, so that they know what opportunities they have around them and how to take charge and gain those opportunities. And thank you so much for having me today. It was great speaking to you. You made it really lively for me too. So
that's awesome. Yeah, no, thank you. It's been great. I think that you have some friends here saying that.
Yeah, I have a lot of assignments.
They're waiting for you, But anyway, I really hope that you enjoy your last days in the US. I know that your return is coming up, and
Yes.
so please stay in touch. You all guys are invited for the next interview series. Normally, we are conducting it on bi-weekly basis. So in 2 weeks' time, we will interview the next guest, hopefully as inspiring as Moukthika. Thank you so much, everyone.
I really appreciate you having me today.
Oh, just sorry, yeah, just let's smile so then we can get because I always struggle getting a nice image of the two of us for for the recording. So thank you.
Thank you.
This is so fake. I'm sorry, but we look good. Okay, thank you, Moukthika. Have a great one.
Thank you, and thank you so much for all the help. in my journey so far.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye, guys. Bye. Bye.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye, guys.
You too.
Bye.